Alright guys, we're going to try and go through how to balance an account now because I think there's some confusion about what you need to do. I'm going to show you 3 different situations. We're going to look at, let me just put the note up here at the side. 1, what to do when there is only one entry in the T account, and 2, what to do when there is more than one entry. Okay, so you can see here I have the analysed cash book of C&C Furniture Limited, and we're going to have a look at a couple of different parts. We're going to have a look at the sales, and we're also going to have a look at the purchases. Okay, we're going to have a look at the purchases as well. I think this account confused a few of you in class today, but we're going to have a look at the sales and the purchases. And because we're looking at the sales and purchases, we need to look at not just the actual amount of sales and purchases, but we also need to look at the VAT amount as well. Okay, so we're going to be creating a number of different accounts here now. We're going to be creating the sales account, the VAT account, and the purchases account. But you have to remember that there are sales and VAT, there's VAT on purchases and VAT on sales. Now, the other thing to be aware of, guys, when we're doing these accounts is we look at the title of the columns, the analysis columns, to tell us which accounts we're going to have in the general ledger, but the actual figures that we're looking at are going to be down at the bottom of the account. So it's these totals here are what we're worried about, okay? The purchases total and the VAT total. Now, I think what happened to some of you today was you did the 2 different transactions for sales, as you can see them here on the debit side, and you did the 2 different transactions for purchases. And for some of you, you got a little bit confused about what way to transfer them, and we got a bit muddled up. So we're going to do the sales account first, okay? Now, remember, if it's in the analysed cash book, debits in the general ledger become credits, and in the analysed cash book, credits become debits in the general ledger. That's the rule of thumb, okay? So we're going to do our sales account first here now. So we have sales account. We're going to draw our T account. I'm going to try and give myself enough space. Okay, we have our debit side and we have our credit side. We have our total and we have our folio. Okay, remember our folio tells us where the amount came from. So our sales account, if we look, we have 2 entries on the debit side in the analysed cash book. Remember the rule, if it is on the debit side in the analysed cash book, it's on the credit side in the general ledger. So we're going to transfer a single entry. So we have sales, it came from the ACB, and we're going to transfer the total at the bottom of the column. So that's 57600. There is a single entry. That's all we need to worry about. So we can draw a double line underneath it, and that's the end of the accounting period. Remember, the double line means the end of the accounting period. So once we've that done, that's it. We don't need to worry about anything else. And that single figure is what will be transferred to the trial balance at the next stage of the process. So that's our sales account done. That's the correct way to process the sales account. It is also the correct way to process the purchases account. But let's look at what might happen if, for some reason, you transferred the 2 entries individually. Okay, so let's do our purchases account now. I'll do it in purple. So we're going to do our purchases account. Okay, we're going to draw our T account. You'll have a printout of this. You won't need to draw it. But just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to draw it. So we're going to have our debit side, we're going to have our credit side, and we have our total, we have our folio, and we have our details. Okay, that should all be very familiar for now. So when we look back at our analysed cash book, we can see that our purchases are on the credit side, so we now need to put them onto the debit side in our general ledger. So the first transaction is the 3rd of February, and it's cash. It's excuse me, it's not cash, it's from the analyzed cash book, so we call it bank. And it's from the analyzed cash book, and the total amount, remember now it's just the purchases, not the VAT. The total amount for that transaction was €9,000. We will be accounting for the VAT, but we will be doing it in a separate account. So the 10th of February, we can see there's the second transaction, the second entry, and that is for 17,000. So it's the 10th of February, sorry, wrong color. 10th of February, again it's bank, and it's the analyzed cash book, and it's 17,000. So now we need to learn how to balance this account. If you do this by accident, it's fine, but you do need to balance it, because as soon as there's more than one transaction, more than one entry, we need to balance the account. So we need to leave a line free, and notice that I have the two lines across from each other. I will draw the double line to indicate the end of the accounting period. So what we need to do now is we need to add up the heavier side. Now, anybody with a bit of sense can see the debit side on this account is going to be heavier. So that's going to be 26,000. In order for me to balance the two sides, I need to have 26,000 in both spots. But I need to put something in this area up here so that these two figures will match. So I'm going to write in my balance figure. So the balance is generally done at the end of the month, so the 28th of February, and we're going to call that balance. And it's the balance to be carried down, and it's going to be 26,000. Now, the next thing to remember, and remember this rule, when we balance the account, whatever it is above the line, when we get below the double line, it goes to the other side. So on the 1st of March, we're going to have the balance brought down, and it's going to be €26,000. And that's our account balanced. So when it comes to doing our trial balance, we're going to be using this figure here. Okay, so that's the figure that's going to go to the trial balance. Now, we won't be talking about the trial balance just now, but we're going to move on, and we're going to do our last account. I'm going to do it in dark pink, and we're going to do the VAT account. Now, the VAT account you will need to balance always. The reason we will always need to balance the VAT account is because we have purchases VAT and we have sales VAT. So you are always, always, always going to need to balance the VAT account. Okay, so we'll just fill in our bits and pieces here. We have debit, we have credit, we have our total column on both sides, we have the folio, and we have the details. Okay, so we're going to look back up at our analyzed cash book now. So if we look here on our analyzed cash book, we need to be very careful what numbers we use at this point, okay? So I'm going to highlight it again in green. So you can see here at the top of the two columns, I have VAT highlighted in green. We only use the totals, okay? We're only using the totals, and it's very important that we are very careful that those are the numbers we use. So we're going to go back down now, and remember the same rule applies. If it's a debit in the analyzed cash book, it's a credit in the general ledger. Okay, so our sales, our cash sales have VAT of 13,248. So we're going to take care of that. So it's the end of the month, it's the 28th of February, and it's cash sales. And it's coming from the analyzed cash book. And let's double check our figure one more time. It's 13248 because I have it highlighted in green. 13248. That's perfect. So we've done our sales VAT. We now need to do our purchases VAT. So again, it'll be the last day of the month, so the 28th of February. And we can see here that the column total for purchases VAT is 5980. So we come back down to our T account. We're going to put in the correct date. We have the 28th of the month because that's the last day of February. We have cash purchases. It's coming from the analyzed cash book. And let's just double check our figure one more time. 5980. So now we need to balance this account. Now, if you can anybody with a bit of sense again can see that the credit side over here, it has a more in that side of the account than the debit side does. So we're going to draw a line and we're going to leave a little bit of space. Don't need to leave loads of space, you just need to leave enough space. The only thing we need to figure out is how much do we need to add to the lighter side, which is the debit in this case, 13248, in order to have 13248 on that side. And that's just a simple transaction. So we'll do a quick T account in the corner, 13248, 5980. So 13248 minus 5980 is going to give me 7268. So I know now I need to put 7268 on that side for them both to be the same. Great. So I can now put that information in. So the last day of the month, the 28th of the 2nd, my balance to be carried down, and it's going to be 7268. Okay, so I know now when I add 5980 and 7268, I get 13248 on the debit side, and I know that matches on the credit side. But remember, we need to carry down that balance so that we're ready for the beginning of the next month. So the 1st of March, we have our balance brought down of 7268, and that amount, just so we remember, that amount is what will be transferred to the trial balance. Okay, it's always the final entry in the account, the balance below the line, that gets transferred to the trial balance. But we'll look at the trial balance again in another video. Now, I hope that helps, guys. I hope you have a little bit better understanding of how to balance an account. At least by having the video, you can go back and look again and again and again. But please remember, you only need to balance when there is more than one entry in the T account, in the general ledger account. If there is only a single entry, you don't need to balance. Okay, I hope that helps. I hope that makes it a bit clearer. Again, this is going to be left up on the OneNote so you can have a double check on that. Remember the rules we talked about in terms of transferring your information from one account to the other. You need to be methodical, you need to pay attention to the detail, and don't be afraid to go back and double check. You saw me double checking there. We all have to double check our work as we go along. You need to aim to have all of these questions completed from Analyze Cash Book through ledger accounts and onto trial balance in 30 minutes. And if you have any further questions, just send me a message.